This is Philip Hammond's first budget statement since the general election in June and the third since he became Chancellor last year. In March he was cheered by his backbenchers after the UK avoided the recession predicted by many analysts following the Brexit vote last year. Employment was climbing and measures of consumer and business confidence, which plummeted after the referendum, had bounced back. But he was soon in deep trouble with his Tory colleagues for planning a 1 percentage point increase in national insurance on the self-employed and, in a humiliating U-turn, he was forced to ditch the whole idea. The election in June left Hammond further weakened. He needs to push through measures that improve the economy's productivity to have any chance of meeting his pledge to eliminate the UK's deficit by the mid-2020s, but is also facing pressing problems in public services, welfare provision, and a housing market that has effectively locked a generation of young people out of home ownership. What we know: the UK economy expanded by 1.7% in 2016 but registered just 0.5% growth in the first half of this year. The pace has improved since the summer, largely due to improving growth rates in Europe and the US, but the outlook remains weak. What to look out for: the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, is expected to downgrade the 2% GDP growth it was expecting for 2017 back in March to about 1.5%. Growth expectations for the next 4 years are also likely to be lowered. There is a productivity crisis that the OBR has been understating and is about to include more realistic forecasts. That will trigger a reduction in the forecast for tax receipts, knocking the Chancellor's deficit reduction plan off course. What we know: in March the OBR expected the public finances to plunge further into the red this year and the budget deficit to worsen for the first time in 7 years, but tax receipts have held up well and the deficit is on course to be at least £6 billion smaller than forecast in March. What to look out for: usually chancellors use an election victory to raise taxes and Hammond is unlikely to be an exception. But he will need to use stealth taxes and avoidance crackdowns to raise funds if he is to sidestep his cabinet critics. What we know: the government's 1% cap on public sector pay rises will be relaxed in the police and prison services. Prison workers are getting a 1.7% pay rise and police officers will get an additional 1% bonus. What to look out for: he head of the NHS, school heads and others want to relax the pay cap and spending more generally. It looks like Hammond will take a hard line, though he could promise to increase pay above 1% later in the Parliament. What we know: about 7% of tax credit claimants have moved to universal credit and, according to Labour MPs and food bank charities, the system is chaotic and causing extreme hardship. Lower payments for disabled people, who were already hit hard by the bedroom tax, are also a cause for concern among anti-poverty groups. A rise in inflation has also hit as many as 1M families who claim benefits and are at the beginning of a 4-year income freeze.